Crumbled buildings, the remains of an era where the Ottomans ruled Sudan and when trade flourished on the country's second largest port, including slave trade. But for SHANGARAI Ibrahim, this is the only home he's ever known.
I was born here and grew up here. This place has an amazing history. It was one of Sudan's first ports for trade and for people. People used to travel around the world for centuries.
Suakin was built by the Ottomans in the 16th century. It, along with several other ports along Sudan's eastern coast, served as a major gateway to the Gulf and the East. But since sanctions were imposed on Sudan in 1997, most of the country's ports slowed in function as trade decelerated. ELFATIH is one of the traders who felt the impact.
A lot of goods used to come via the sea, but then it slowed down with the sanctions. There were less ships coming in, and now we have to go to the capital to bring stocks instead of relying on nearby ports.
Sanctions were lifted last year, but ELFATIH says he's yet to feel any positive effect. Sudan's government, with help from foreign countries like Turkey, have been working to restore Suakin for tourism and trade. Reviving the historic and economic significance of Suakin will take years, but it's not just the port's tourism and investment potential that are attracting foreign investors. Regional power dynamics also seem to have a role. Just across the Red Sea is a regional Gulf crisis and a war in Yemen involving a Saudi-led coalition. Some countries, such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia, fear that Suakin will become what it once was, a military base. Local authorities disagree.
What we're trying to do is rebuild the structure for trade and tourism. Suakin is less than 20 square kilometers. How could you build a military base here? A base could be built further north in Port Sudan, and that's being discussed, but not here in Suakin.
SHANGARAI wants to see a revival of the port he and his ancestors grew up on, so trade can resume, instead of the old structures crumbling and becoming mere symbols of the past. Hiba, Al Jazeera, Suakin, Eastern Sudan.